Welcome to SWAT Systems Educational Series. In this video, Dave Blake will be taking us along on a deep dive into Microsoft Teams. This 50-minute video goes over the following. Common questions. What's new? How do I create teams? How do I administer teams? Is it secure? Is it compliant? Can I replace my legacy phone systems with MS Team? Will it break? Top MS Team tips and a little bit on shift management. Please enjoy the show. Thank you for watching.
See a few people joining the call. We're just giving it a minute for more people to join up right now, and then we'll be on the road. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get going. We are recording right now. I'm gonna mute Nick there. I think I was getting a little bit of feedback on him. Well, let me just quickly introduce myself here. My name is Dave Blake. So I see some attendees in here who already know me. I've been with SWAT for about 10 years. I'm the general manager right now, and I'll be walking you guys through Microsoft Teams. Also on the call, we have Jason Hoggins, the owner. Jason, you want to say anything?
Hello.
And so we got the account managers. I'm on just saying hi to everybody. Welcome to a webinar again. A little bit of a deep dive into Teams, and please enjoy it. It's a sunny day here in Seattle, so I appreciate you guys spending some time and learning more about the technology. And Amanda and Nick are here to answer questions on the side. So if there's any Q&A things that want to be brought up, just let us know, put them in the chat, and we'll be here to answer. But back to you, Dave. Have fun, and we're here to listen. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Jason. I'm gonna share my screen now, and we will get into this. Cool. All right, so this is kind of a 201 webinar. We've done one webinar in the past, which was more of a basics webinar. If anyone would like more of a refresher on that, or is really just looking for basic info, that's a great starting place. I really recommend checking that out after this. If one of you guys could post that in the chat, I would appreciate that. In addition to that, for any basic tutorials, I really recommend just kind of Microsoft's basic library. They keep that stuff really up to date, and it's always going to be better to check that kind of thing 3 months from now, 6 months from now, just because things do change, and you want to be sure that you are using the latest information. Cool, so I will kind of gloss over the basics, and then we'll move on to all the fun stuff. So really short summary of what MS Teams is and what it should be used for. Chat, obviously, that's the thing that's probably most known for. Video calling, calls, meetings. Meetings go up to 300 people. Those people cannot all be on screen at the same time yet. That will probably happen at some point in the future, even though that'd be a little bit crazy. Live events is a really cool thing that Teams can do as well. And we're on Zoom right now, so some of you might be wondering, well, hey, if this is a Teams webinar, why are we doing it on Zoom? It's because, well, I'm showing you my Teams, and so if I was doing a live event on there and trying to show you what I'm doing, that can get a little bit weird. But for pretty much anything else, I would be happy to use a Teams live event for that sort of thing. The other thing is content collaboration. That is one of the things that I think people might not know about Teams as much of what it's used for once it actually gets up and running. But if you think about all your Microsoft applications, your apps, your SharePoint, etc., the best thing that Teams can really be used for is people working together on stuff. So you get everyone together in a chat room or in a video conference, and you can work on all these documents and stuff together. That it just makes it very easy to do that. On top of that, there are some really great plugin apps to use with that. They're there for all sorts of different programs. Jira, what's the one we use for marketing, Jason? Asana? Yeah, all sorts of project management applications, polling applications, pretty much anything you can think of. It's usually a good rule of thumb to just go and check if you're not sure, and there's a good chance there's already some kind of application for it. And what a lot of these will do is they'll either give you, sort of a almost browser-based portal into your application so that you can just do all your work from the same screen in Microsoft Teams. Like, you might be able to add in another tab up here And let's say that, we wanted an Excel document. Well, we could just have the Excel document there in a tab, and it would be nice and easy. Or, you can do that with Asana or anything else. Some of the applications go even a bit further, and they'll add like chat functionality and things like that. So you can do a chat command and actually affect change in those other programs, so that you'll see that sort of thing in like a lot of ticketing systems and stuff like that. Past that, there are some other cool applications that are more first party to Teams, like shift management and stuff like that. And I will talk more about that stuff later on, assuming we have time, but I want to make sure that we get through all the meat and potatoes first. There's a lot of cool stuff to talk about though. But the true purpose of Teams is really to centralize as much content and communication as you can from different spots. Ask yourself the question: does this need to be an email? Can we do this better and more efficiently in Teams? Do we need to, schedule out this big string of meetings or something? Or can we just hit the video call button with this small group of people right now and knock it out? Even though we're all remote, we're all in different places, this tool makes it so much easier, especially in this post-COVID environment, to maintain that cohesiveness as a team. I know with SWAT particularly, we're almost all remote right now. I'm in the office for the first time in months, and I live 3 blocks away. And I'm only here right now just because it gets a little bit noisy outside my house sometimes. But I've been able to do my day-to-day just fine by just sticking with Teams and doing video calls when I need to. It's been working very well. So one spot that I wanted to hit is things that are new since the last webinar. Now, there are a big old list of these things, so we're not going to hit everything. If you want to see the spot where Microsoft announced that stuff, Jason, there should be a link for you in the itinerary that I gave you if you want to post that in a chat.
Will do.
That is a great link to just have bookmarked if you ever want to check and see, hey, what new stuff has been released in Microsoft Teams in the past X amount of time, The most important or useful ones that I would recommend are the addition of the raising hands feature in Microsoft Teams meetings. That is an amazing feature, especially for us introverts. We don't really like talking over people a lot of the time, and so it's really nice to be able to just hit that little button, and that way people know that you're ready to say something. Another great one is that they've been consistently expanding the number of users that you can put in your video calls and in your meetings. And so right now, I believe the max is at 300 for a regular meeting. 300 people in a meeting or a video call is quite a bit. Now, in terms of people who can show up on that call, it's 3x3 windows right now. So there can be a max of 9 boxes of people, but they are planning to expand that up to at least 7x7 within the next couple months. So that's 49, almost 50 people. And that's the same that Zoom is capable of right now. And I think they'll keep trying to expand that, but I think at a certain point, it's also like, how many people is too many people, So we'll see. Now for size limits and stuff like that, Jason, there's another link I put in there right below this section. If you want to paste that in a chat, this is a great link to go to if you're curious about how many people can be in any specific type of event. I know for live events, you can do like up to 10,000 people. These numbers change now and then, so it is good to, check on that if you're watching a recording of this 6 months from now or something. Again, it's just always good to check the most up-to-date information, or ask SWAT. Another couple cool features that are coming down the pipe, the walkie-talkie feature. This is one maybe not a lot of people know about, but they're basically giving you the ability to, just on your phone, if you have the Teams app, it's intended more for like first line workers and stuff like that, but you can basically do a push to talk, and anyone who's in that group with you, that team or that channel with you, will just be able to hear what you're saying. And so it's literally just turning your phone into a walkie-talkie. Small, simple use, but there are a fair amount of cases where it can be useful. And again, especially in the land of remote work, if you just want to feel like you're all, kind of together and sitting in the same area, it might be a cool, fun little feature. And then there is what I'm kind of calling the classroom view, which will be coming out, I think, probably within the next month or two. They are trying to get rid of the box format because, I mentioned earlier that they're shooting to get up to 49 people on screen at one time. That's a lot of boxes, and it's sort of hard to pay attention to all that, and it sort of looks weird. I don't know about everyone else here, but I kind of get Zoom or Teams fatigue after a while when I sit in too many video meetings. And what Microsoft is trying to do is they're trying to make it look more like maybe a classroom or a lecture hall or something like that. And so they're going to take out the backgrounds around you and have everyone kind of looking like they're sitting side by side. I've heard some people say that it looks kind of creepy and weird. I don't know. I'm going to reserve judgment until I can see it and actually play with it myself. If we have time at the end of this, or Nick, Amanda, Jason, if any of you want to go look up a picture of that and link it in there just so people can see what I'm talking about, that might be helpful for people rather than just hearing me try to describe that. Cool. So now we get to the meat and potatoes. So I'm going to go through some common questions of things people had after like last webinar, or things that I know clients have asked us in the past. So one of the most common ones is people asking like what is kind of under the hood of Microsoft Teams, and what is like really though, what is Microsoft Teams? I know it does chat, I know it does video calling, but I don't really know what it is. Well, I think most people here are familiar with like what SharePoint is or what OneDrive is, and it's basically just a wrapper on top of that. So if we go and we look at files under this guy, or let's go under general over here where we actually have stuff and it's not in a test team. So if we look in here, we go under files, we can see that there's an open in SharePoint button. So if I were to click on any of these folders, I won't do that because I don't actually know what's in them, but we could click on this and we could go to open in SharePoint. And I mean, literally, these are just files that are already in SharePoint, and SharePoint storage is basically just OneDrive. I really think that 10 years from now, people are probably going to stop making the distinction between those things as much. And they're just going to say it's in the Microsoft 365 Azure cloud. That's just where it is. It's kind of all the same place anyway. And the distinctions that we're making right now are just based on what app we're accessing it from. But if you want to think about it in a logical sense, it's really just, it's in Microsoft's cloud right now. That's where it is. How you access it is the only real differentiator there. And that's actually one really great thing about MS Teams, is that because all these things are in one spot, it makes it very easy to collaborate with all this stuff because it's already there. You can make a lot of connections between different spots and between different documents. So the process to actually make a team in Teams would be, first, you actually have a 365 group. All teams are based on 365 groups. And we're going to go through this process in just a second here. I just want to explain what it is. And then you actually create the team, and then you customize the team and the channels, and you invite any people or owners or anything in there, and then they can kind of take ownership from that on. But that should be the general process is, you create the group and the team, you do your basic admin setup, and then you translate it to the team that's really going to be using it. So let's just go ahead and create a team right now. So what happens if I click on join or create a team down here? Now, this is not going to let me do this, because if I go to here and create a team, I can create teams from existing groups, the groups that I mentioned earlier, but I don't have a group for a new team that I want. The default will let you create a group right from here. This doesn't let me do this for a reason. And what SWAT does with our clients is and ourselves is we lock down the ability to create that from here so that you don't get willy-nilly teams left and right, because we have seen that happen a bit. And one thing that you really don't want to happen is you don't want this stuff to spiral out of control, and then have too many different teams, and there's no kind of source of information where people know they need to go to, and there's information in too many different spots. There really should be kind of a central planning set as you set your teams up, and you should try and plan things out so that people know where to go and there aren't too many different sources of information. So we can go ahead and create a group for this right now. I'm actually going to switch my sharing to a different screen real quick to show you guys how this works.
Hey, Dave, while you're doing that, can you talk about the difference between a group and a team?
Yeah, sure thing. Can absolutely do that. So let me share my screen here. All right, you guys should be able to see that now.
No, we don't see it yet. There you go.
There we go. So we're going to go ahead and add a group here. So a group, we are in Office 365 right now. And so this is a group basically. Now we'll see in here, we have a directory synced environment. So we will see some that are, I have to get a little bit closer because I have bad eyes and I can't see everything on my screen here. But we'll see different types of groups in here. And if we see things that are 365 groups, these are groups that were actually created in Microsoft Office 365. Now, you have to create groups in Microsoft Office 365 for a lot of different things that are in the 365 environment, but we'll also see groups in here that are from our local Active Directory Windows environment because we're a DIR-sync environment. The group is the kind of permission set that SharePoint and OneDrive and everything use. And the team is, again, Teams is a wrapper. It runs off of your SharePoint and your OneDrive stuff. And so really the team is more of an idea. And it's just the thing that you use to manage it within the application. But the actual meat and potatoes is the group that we're about to make here. So let's go ahead and make our 365 group here. And we will just name that Teams Demo. Next, and let's make me an owner because I have trust issues, and we'll make this Teams Demo, and we'll make it private so that I'm not burdening everyone else in the organization with another thing that I've created, and only the people who are in the group can see it. This is an important thing to keep in mind, is that, you might have some public groups that you say, everyone in the organization should be able to see this all the time, but maybe you have department-specific groups that there's just no reason to clutter up everyone else's stuff by sharing that out. So we will do that, and we can either create a team right from here, or we can not do that. And I'm going to choose to not do that right now so that I can show you guys what the process would look like from Teams. But if I did do it from here, it would basically just take care of it. So we'll hit next, and we'll create that group. Great, so that should be done. So I can stop sharing this and we can go back to Teams. All right, so now we are back in Teams, and if we hit join or create team, no, might need to give it a second here. This worked immediately when I did it this morning.
I do know that sometimes we have seen it take a minute to propagate too.
Yeah, this shouldn't actually have to propagate. Might need to refresh the screen. There it is. So we just had to go to a different tab and come back, basically. But so what this is doing right now is it's actually going right out to 365, and that's why I say that it shouldn't have to propagate, is because, again, Teams is basically just a wrapper. A lot of what it does is it just does web requests out to stuff, and it pulls the data back from there. So we have our Teams demo group, we'll choose that group, and we will create that team. And boom, we have a team. Look at that. That was easy. So we have this here. I see a hand raised. Did we want to, was there a question, guys?
Candace, did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
I'm going to keep going, and if you get that question in chat or anything, just let me know. So I will show you a couple of quick little build outs here. So under this team, we have the general channel, and we have the Teams demo team. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to come into your team and manage the team. From here, you'll see that I'm the only owner in here right now, but it's not a good idea to only have one owner. What happens if I get hit by a bus? They'd have to go in, they'd have to take permission, and reassign everything. That's work that doesn't have to happen. So let's just add Jason.
And Dave, while you're adding Jason in there, the question was if we can tell why there are only a few groups to choose from.
There were only a few groups to choose from because those were the only ones that, those were the only 365 groups that were in there that are not already Teams enabled. But when you hit that join or create a team list and you look at that, these are the only ones in here right now for our organization that exist and are not already assigned to something with that Teams flag. You cannot use, you won't see, like, if you look over on the left here, you won't see our marketing group, you won't see our management group, our Power BI demo group, the group that we just created. You won't see any of those because they already have a team in there. And we may have other teams, we may have other Office 365 groups, sorry, in there that have a team, but I can't see because it's a private team and I'm not invited to it. And so if we go back here and we try and add Jason, that's why Jason wasn't showing up, because he wasn't actually in that team. So I would have to make sure that he is a member of that in the 365 side so that I'm able to add him to it. But that's the general idea of how you would add people to it. From here also, you can add channels and other things like that. If you look at our main SWAT systems team, you see all these different channels under it. Again, we try not to have too many different channels, but in situations where we have channels that I might not want to see, I can actually hide them. Let's say maybe the social channel is being a little bit chatty. I do think it is important to have a place, especially again, during the COVID environment where people can go and they can be social, they can talk about non-work things. It kind of sucks to not have that water cooler chat ever. And it is nice to have a place to do that. But maybe you're busy and you don't want to see that for a week or something. And so you can just come here and hide that. And it just hides. If you ever want it back, it's really easy to get back. You come back there and show it. Nice and simple. But once you create those channels, then you can actually go in those channels and manage the channels as well. The options in here are a lot smaller. They are planning on increasing some of these permission sets to where there might be, members and owners of individual channels as well. But for right now, that doesn't exist. So if someone is in the team and they can see the team, they can see everything in all of the channels. There's not granular permission at the channel level yet, but I do know that is on the roadmap. Get my window back up here. And so that's the basics of just creating the teams and all that. If we were to customize this team a little bit, let's say that we wanted to, let's say this is our team's demo team now, and we want to use this for internal training or something like that. Well, maybe we want to put in a little wiki here, and we want to have a little information for anyone who comes in here and wants to have some training. Well, I can take in, just do a little section of what I'm reading off of right here, and I'll just paste it in. Great. This is Teams creation, Teams wiki. Easy. And we use these in some of our service teams, for example. It's a nice centralized spot. We're already in this area all day. And this is kind of what I mean when I say this is about collaboration. You're in this spot all the time. This is one screen that you're at, and you can add other little tabs like this, or let's say we want to add a YouTube video of the recording of the first Teams webinar that we did. Well, we can do that super, super easily and quickly. So we're going to add YouTube to this. We need to have a link for it. Have my link over here. Paste that link in there. Search for it, save. And I think that took me about 10 seconds, and we can watch the entire first webinar that we did on this. And it's there for anyone who would want to come in there and see it in our nice little Teams demo channel. So that is the bulk of what you'll really be doing with the teams and the channels. So I'm going to kind of move on from there, but if anyone does have any questions, please post them. Amanda, Nick, and Jason.
Yeah, we have 2 questions right now. The first one is, can we describe how to manage project level groups? So if they're using Teams to manage a large number of projects and want to create ad hoc project groups, what would be the best practice to do so?
I would maybe think about creating a project team and then maybe creating channels for your individual projects under that. For example, if we were to do that, we actually have that, but again, I'm not part of the team, so I can't see it in here, but we have a project team in addition to our project channel, but the project team has channels under it that are basically each project. And so they'd be able to work from each of those. Now, in a bigger team, our project team is about 5 people plus, you know, the account managers work with them a lot. But for a team of more people, let's say you're like 50 people and you're all working on projects, I might break that up into individual teams. You're probably working on different kinds of stuff, and then kind of segment from there. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I guess one other question too, that we do get a lot on the account management side is if you had a team that had external users, would they need to be their own separate team, just for permissions and security and whatnot?
External as in not having a 365 account, or external as in just not with the company?
Outside of your organization. So SWAT systems and I don't know, let's pretend we have.
If you can give them, well, if they're outside of your 365 organization, then they would not be part of the team in there. What you could do is you could set up chat groups. So if we go over to chat here, and we go to me, Amanda, Jason, and Nick, we can see, you know, we have the 3 of us in here. I don't know if I have any with external contacts right now, but you could have a group with some external contacts in there as well. That would probably be more how I would do that, rather than trying to put them in a team.
And Dave, you can do that through trust accounts like InTrust. We set, as long as they have an Office 365 account and you do, you can merge their teams together. So I've done that with InTrust. So
with a team or with a chat?
With a team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I can verify
that.
but we tested it out and it worked really well. And I think that was in the first demo that we've done.
Okay. Well, anything that I'm unsure about, we're just going to write that down, and we can send out a follow-up email with instructions on, you know, exactly what the for sure confirmed word is on that. That's the reason that I like doing these is, you know, you hear questions that you don't see in your day-to-day and you learn more.
Yeah, thanks for whoever brought that out. I love those kind of questions.
And Dave, we do have one more question. This one is there a way to assign team or channel permissions based on personnel tags or roles?
Like security memberships, like Active Directory roles?
Perhaps, or maybe you say, oh, we have a bunch of bus drivers. You know, each time we hire a bus driver, they need to be added to these specific teams or channels.
Yes, it would be with PowerShell. That would be a great thing to consult with a company like us on, because there might be a little bit of scripting involved in that. I don't think that there is a graphical interface option to assign it that way, but I'm almost positive that you could do that with PowerShell. Yeah. So moving on from there, we've gone through a lot of that team stuff. If we have more questions, I'm happy to answer more of them at the end. Security and compliance, I just want to touch on this real quick. Some people ask me, you know, hey, is is Teams secure? Can I use this if I have to meet these compliance requirements? Well, if you are in government and you have to meet government compliance requirements, yes, there are actually separate tenants that you can use for that, where the areas where the data is actually physically located meets those compliance requirements. If you are not in that bucket, but you're just worried about more general stuff like HIPAA, that sort of thing, that should be fine. It's along with the normal Microsoft Office 365 set, and it really boils down to customizability to configuring it all correctly. You should have everything on multi-factor authentication. That is kind of a base level requirement. We require all of our clients to move to multi-factor authentication as us being a Microsoft partner. That is the number one thing that you can really do to help secure your 365 tenants and information within those tenants. But it fits under the larger umbrella. It's, again, all the data is coming from SharePoint or OneDrive. So if you're asking if Teams is secure, you're basically asking, is SharePoint secure? Is OneDrive secure? And the answer to that is always, well, did you set it up right? And if you're ever not sure if you set it up right, talk to us. That is what people like us are here for. One other really big question, I know Amanda spent a lot of time on this one, is phone systems. Can I replace my legacy phone system with Microsoft Teams? And how can I do that without completely talking my ear off and making me confused and angry? So the super basic overview of this, I actually have a little graphic that I'm going to put up here, and I'll make it a little bit easier to follow. Show this out. So there are a couple different plans which we would recommend doing this with, and those are the enterprise plans. So for E1 and E3 plans, you need to have the phone system add-on with it. Now, what that means, that's basically like a clouded PBX. So the box that you have at your office for a legacy phone system that manages all the routing and all that stuff, moving that to the cloud. And you have to pay an additional $8 a month per user if you are on E3 or E1. You don't have to pay any additional if you are on E5 because it is part of E5. E5 is not a cheap license, but it basically includes everything that Microsoft has past the really out there add-ons. In addition to that, for either plan, you need to have a calling plan for that sort of thing. Now, if you only have to do domestic calling, great. It's half the cost. So it is $12 per user per month. If you have to do international calling, I'm sorry, that will cost more. $24 per user per month. That's just the rates that Microsoft puts out there for this. So you want to look at this total price over here and compare it to what plan that you think you can put your people at over here. This plan needs to be there for any person using that phone with 365 and Teams. So if you have 20 users that all need to use Teams as a phone and you're on E5 and you only need to do domestic calling, well, that would be 12 times 50 would be your cost per user per month. So that should make the math a little bit easier. There are some asterisks to that statement, like if you want to add in certain types of conference calling or things like that, you might have a couple of add-on licenses, but that's really the basic meat and potatoes. This is how that works. The overview of how a migration will work. Again, I like to keep these really short for these kinds of webinars. You start with like one basic license. Us or your IT or whoever would configure everything, set up the phone system, the IVR, make sure that basic functionality works, and then you would set up user accounts with additional licenses and then port over the numbers and actually do the migration. That is the pie in the sky, very, very not specific overview of how it works, but that's the broad strokes. It isn't too complicated when you break it down like that. There is lots of complexity that happens inside that. And in the planning stage, So I highly recommend, if you're thinking about doing that sort of thing, you know, and you work with us, or even if you don't, reach out to us or someone else who does do that sort of thing frequently, because there are some gotchas in there. Were there any questions coming in about any of that stuff, Amanda? Okay, cool.
No, not yet. But don't be shy. Oh wait, one did just pop in. Would you need to have handsets?
You don't need to have handsets, no. So with 365, if you have, you know, a laptop or something and it has a built-in mic and camera, I mean, I never use a headset anymore at all. I do all my video calling and whatnot just straight from my laptop. Now, we don't use the voice plan, but that wouldn't change anything. You basically just need to have a mic in order to be able to do the calling, and it effectively acts like a little soft phone. So the answer is no, you do not need those. But if you do want them, there are a lot of good options out there, and I recommend, again, talking to a company like us who has worked with clients that have used different types of those, just because there are some gotchas with different models, and it helps in our position to, you know, we have over 100 different clients in the greater Seattle area, and we work with a lot of other MSPs across the country, and we can reach out and see like, hey, this company is about to order 300 phones. Do you know anyone else who's used these phones, and were they bad? Because you don't want to order 300 phones and find out they're all bad. That would be unfortunate. So one other common question is just general troubleshooting. I've had some people ask like, hey, you know, this is a really, really big shift in my organization maybe, and I'm kind of worried, like, is this going to break all the time? I don't want to take on a lemon. No, it doesn't really break. The main things that will cause Microsoft Teams to not work or for you to have issues, internet, that's probably the biggest thing right now. Again, COVID world, everyone's remote. A lot of people are on not their office connection anymore. And so if you don't have great internet, well, yeah, you're going to have problems with internet-based service. And especially if you are doing voice or video calling, that's the number one thing to check. Do you have the bandwidth to begin with? And then past that, are you on Wi-Fi? Is it a hardline connection? If you have a remote office, I really recommend, you know, find a way to get good internet and a hardline connection, because it'll make your life way better as we move more and more to these cloud services. And then the main other thing that really breaks past that is just if Microsoft themselves have a service outage, but that's much less common than it was in the past. I remember all the way back to the BPOS days, that used to happen a lot more, but the service has gotten so much better and so much more reliable since then.
Hey, Dave, I just want to chime in. I put up about the guest accounts. There's a link to that in the chat. And a reminder about their phones. Microsoft phones work really well in small, tight groups of 5 to 10 people. But if you have a bigger organization, there are some bugs like barging in, things like that are known out there with the Microsoft phone system. But among the NLG members, we've probably rolled out maybe 80, 90 handsets among all of the people across the United States. And so we are testing them and are aware of how it all works. So it is definitely the future, but it is still a little bit buggy. So if you need a real, you know, site-to-site type system, you're going to want to look at a traditional PBX phone system. I would bet on it that way. So thank you.
Okay. So I want to share a couple of my just general tips real quick. So I'm going to share Teams again. And so creating a meeting is super, super quick and easy. I think a lot of you guys already know how to do this, but if I wanted to create a meeting here, I can just do a new meeting, and let's just put it for 12:30 so that it's already happening. And test.
This is probably my favorite feature because it pops up and lets you know to join right there.
Yeah, it's super, super quick, convenient, and easy. So I'm going to join this meeting that I just made with Jason. Join that in. I'll turn my mic on here so that I'm not doing anything too crazy. And so I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the raise hand feature, this is amazing. I love this so much. Again, any introverts, is so nice to be able to click that button and not have to talk over everyone else. Jason, can you click on your raise hand button?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to want to mute yourself. So you guys saw that a little hand popped up for a second there, and we can see this orange one over here, and we can see when I look over here, I see Jason's hand is up. I can give Jason a chance to talk, and then I can come here and lower the hand if I know that he's already done. So very quick, very easy. I highly recommend incorporating that feature into any kind of meeting that you have that's more than like, I mean, really, even with just 2 people, it can be nice sometimes. The more video calls we do, and the more that we're in this remote world, we need to make sure that we're being respectful of other people. And it's very easy for people to get burnt out on this kind of stuff. I know, especially for the people, it can be really hard to not see people there in person and not be able to communicate like you normally would. And so we don't want to create a hostile environment where we're all trying to talk over each other with delay and everything else, just so we can get a word in and then be done. Using features like this and embracing that, it will make everyone's mental health better. The second tip is just recording your meetings. It's very easy. You click the dots, you click start recording, and then the meeting gets recorded. And one thing that I like doing internally at SWAT, we have all hands meetings every Wednesday. And when we do those, they're all remote now. And I record those, and then I send that recording back out to the team. And that way anyone who wasn't there can watch our short little meeting and be caught up on anything that they missed. Because it's hard to get everyone on the same page and the same schedule sometimes. Sometimes it's impossible. And people come back from vacations and stuff like that too. So that is most of the stuff within those meetings I want to show you guys. The next tip I have is emailing things directly to teams or channels. So if we look at our teams here, let's say that I wanted to email something right to this general channel, or for a real world example, let's say that our escalations team here at SWAT, who does a lot of our internal stuff, maybe I just heard about a new product release and I want to send them something. Well, I can come here and I can go to get email address for this channel, and I can just copy that out and I can send something there. So I'll show you how this works in this channel down here. So if I get the email address for this channel, we'll copy that, and I'm just going to send it a test email here. All right, I just fired that off. In a second, we should see that pop up in this general channel. Moving on, one other thing that, oh, there it is. That was quick. So we can see right there, we have a formatted email that just came in right here. One thing that I really recommend doing is when you have these, all hands type announcements, things that you need to make sure people read, because we know that can be a problem, especially with remote work, getting everyone on the same page, making sure people actually read the things that you're sending out. I recommend taking an email, setting it to important, and sending it to the team, and then also BCCing one of your important channels. We usually use the general or the announcements channel. Just BCCing that in your email, and that way it doesn't show up on the email. No one's going to accidentally reply to that or anything, but it does just automatically create a post in your teams also, so that you're communicating to multiple communication channels at once and keeping people on the same page.
I do. Quick question on that. Someone would like to know, is that email showing on their Outlook email as well?
It will only show on the Outlook email if you email it to their Outlook email. What we did just there was we only emailed to this address, which is the channel address. If I wanted to send that to a person as well, I would just put their email in the the to or the CC or the BCC field. Sound good?
Oh, so then they say, well, then why not just chat in the channel? But I think
so the idea would be to notify both. Some people will check Teams more, some people will check email more. And if you're trying to let everyone know of something and make sure everyone sees it, I have personally experienced as, a general manager when I'm trying to inform people about, COVID stuff or changes that are coming down the pipe. Shockingly, not everyone reads everything that I send out. And so it can be good to send things to multiple spots, and this is just a time saver to do it. I know that's shocking that people wouldn't read everything that I send out, Amanda.
Dave, I read every word, every word.
I wanted to touch one more time. I mentioned this earlier, but it is super, super important. Do not allow everyone to be an owner of everything in Teams. I highly recommend that you assign a couple of people, depending on the size of your company, maybe per department, whatever. But there should be a few stakeholders that are able to make those changes, and then they should listen to people and they should take feedback for changes. It is very important to have that open line of communication and to get good ideas from people. Don't implement every change as soon as it's suggested. Think about it a little bit, plan it out, ask some people. It is much easier to add things to Teams than it is to take them away. And it is very easy to get a cluttered environment, and that will make it more difficult to communicate. And you want it to be simple and clear to communicate. I mentioned the thing about locking down the ability to create teams as well. Again, we do that just by default for everyone. I highly recommend that. It is way too easy to be able to come here, click, create, and then you have a brand new team that is there for everybody. And then if you aren't sure how to do something in Teams, I highly recommend, try just clicking here to the dots and then go to the little help app. And there are a bunch of little guides right here in Teams that, you can kind of follow from. This is mostly base level information, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. You can search, basic help stuff. Like if I want to record a meeting, boom, it's pretty easy. Do that, do a quick search online. There's lots of good YouTube tutorials out there, or, ask SWAT. There's lots of companies like us that are, really great resources for training for that sort of thing. And we get all kinds of great questions like in this webinar that help us learn more and have more knowledge going forward. So those are most of my tips. I want to hit, let's see, we're at 12:47. I don't know if we have enough time to go into shift management, but I'm gonna break the rules a little bit and show you guys a little bit really quick, because it is a cool feature. So this is a quick look at shift management. And I don't know if many people know that this even exists, but this is something that is in Teams. It is intended for first line workers or people who, let's say you have to maintain a certain shift. So for us, for example, we have our triage shift here, which basically means people who are watching the phones and trying to hit tickets as soon as they come in. You can add more teams to this. So if we want to do that for each one of our teams, we could, but it's really mostly just an issue for our triage, because that's the thing that we need to have people there for during certain hours, right? So we can look at this and say, all right, so on every day of the week, we need to have an open shift with at least 2 people from 7 a.m. to 9:30, 9:30 to 12, 12 to 2:30, 2:30 to 5, and 5 to 6:30. And people can go in and just take those shifts. I can just assign this open shift right there to Amelia, and now that is down to only one person is left on that. This is a really useful tool for making sure that you have coverage on things. And I wish I could spend a little more time on it, but there are great things that you can do about, you can request your PTO and stuff like that in here. You can customize a lot of that stuff, but I don't think that we really have a ton of time to go into all of that right now. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to gloss over that, but that is a great feature to look at. Jason, I believe I have another link in the notes that I gave you for the shift stuff. If you want to post that in the chat and people are interested, then they can go and look through that themselves. Or feel free to shoot me an email or whatever, and I'm always happy to talk more about this stuff.
And Dave, someone would like to know how they can get that feature for the shifts. Is that something special that they need to add in, or?
Yeah, you can add that pretty easily. You can really just come here to the apps and it should already be available. It's Shifts is not a third-party thing. That's actually something that Microsoft made, and Microsoft is making a lot of apps like that to try and improve the Teams functionality.
So basically, you would just click on those 3 dots on the sidebar and search.
Should be able to search for it.
And you can add it.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I'm in it right now, but if I do this, yeah, so my
There you go.
shift is
Okay.
already in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it should just be in there. The link again that I think Jason posted in there.
I don't have the link. I just have the notes, so I'll
Okay.
post that up afterwards. We'll record the webinar and then let you guys.
I have the link, so I'll post it when I get a second.
Yep.
So I just want to hit really quick on trends, and then we'll just leave it open for questions in the last 5 minutes or so. So what I kind of see happening in this space going forward, because there's a lot of players in the space right now. There's Microsoft, Google just announced that they're combining Duo and Chat and a bunch of other stuff, all one-to-one offering, trying to compete with Teams. Amazon has Chime. A lot of people don't know about that unless you have friends at Amazon. But Chime is actually it is a pretty popular tool that actually makes Amazon quite a bit of money. Slack, Zoom. We will see some consolidation of some of those in the future, I think. But I think that we'll probably end up with a couple of big players, and a lot more people will try and get in the game before all is said and done. That will definitely be a trend going forward. And what I recommend when you're trying to choose what to use for all of this is look at where your infrastructure and tools are based. If you are almost all Microsoft, you're using almost all Microsoft apps, you're in 365, use Teams. There might be some situations where you want to use Zoom or Slack or things like that. I know a lot of devs really like Slack. I know Zoom is better for some sales stuff, for being able to track leads and stuff like that. But in general, most of your office should probably be using the thing that is integrated with the tools they're using. If you're mostly a Google company and you're mostly on Google business, use the Google tools. That will probably be better for you there. If you are mostly an AWS company, you're probably moving more towards the Chime, Slack, Zoom stack. That's what I would expect. But that's what I would recommend if I were in charge of any company that had a specific infrastructure in a specific place. Try and keep stuff within the same stack. It'll make your life better in the long term. Trend number 2: remote work isn't going away. Even if all the COVID stuff goes away, the big guys have seen that this is not just possible, but it could potentially save them a lot of money in office space. And that was a bit of an issue. A lot of here in Seattle at least, commercial real estate prices were going bonkers. And so I expect that remote work to be a continuing thing. A lot of people don't like commuting, and a lot of tech jobs anyway are very, very in demand, and it's a valuable perk for a lot of people. So what does that mean for us? We need to learn how to use these tools. We need to be able to communicate and collaborate in a way that we're not used to. We're not wired for. We did not evolve to talk over. I'm talking to a piece of plastic with some glass on it right now, and that's weird, right? That should be weird, but it's something that we all have to get used to, because it's just not going away. So we need to learn how to use these tools. We need to keep an eye out for stuff that's coming out on the horizon that will enable us to work better with our teams, because I think that we're probably going to see a lot of people struggling with this new culture, because it is not what we're used to, and it is kind of a scary new normal for a lot of people. On that same vein, Windows Virtual Desktop and things like that, we'll probably be doing some future webinars around topics like that. We're focusing a lot on remote work right now, because that is the thing that we're getting the most questions about. I'm really curious to know, what do people want to see more content of? What are you guys curious about? If you just want to type it in the chat, maybe Jason or someone else, if you want to do a poll real quick, that might be useful. But I'm really curious to know what people want to hear about, and then we can tailor some of our content to that, because that's the whole reason we're doing this. We're a member of the community, and we want to help everyone out through these trying times. And let us know what you're struggling with on the IT front, and we'll talk about it and see what we can do to help. That's pretty much what I got. Amanda, do we have more questions?
No questions. questions right now, but I would say anybody who's still on the call, don't be shy. We can hang out here for a couple minutes while you type those away. Oh, one just did pop in. So not sure if this is relevant in this webinar, but can you advise about Teams integration with Salesforce if there is integration?
I think it has, we don't use Salesforce, so I don't know that off the top of my head, but if I search really quick, there is an app for it. And yeah, let's see, I'm not sure if I have a link for this, but if you just search Microsoft Teams Salesforce app, you should see that come up. I can see it right from those three dots that we pulled up shifts from. And so there is an integration there. I'm not sure exactly what it does because we don't use Salesforce too much, but I would expect that it does what most CRM integrations do, and it lets you receive alerts from the CRM and also potentially even do text commands to make a few changes here and there to things in the CRM.
Somebody else said that they're stuck trying to adopt scheduling tools, DocuSign, and Salesforce. I'm not super clear about what that means, but yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Hey, Dave, I would talk about how important it is to have a champion, right? So to make these things work, you really need to discuss a champion. And what's your definition of a champion and doing an integration of a project, Dave?
Yeah, you want to have a stakeholder. So let's use this example here. I don't know the details right now, but if you're stuck trying to adopt scheduling tools, DocuSign, and Salesforce, the first thing is to get your stakeholders, but ideally you have one person who is ultimately responsible for seeing this through. Then scope it out. Decide exactly what you want to get done. Before you do anything else, write out, this is what success looks like to us, and it has to be measurable. It cannot be, we have adopted a new solution. It has to be like, we are doing, X amount of we have X amount of DocuSign documents in there, and we have sent them out to our clients. Make it a SMART goal. You can Google that if you want the acronym, but it has to be specific and measurable. So stakeholder, specific measurable goals, and then, really, if you need help through the actual process, consider working with a consultant or someone who has done it before. If you're getting stuck on just I don't know what to do next.
Yeah, and you got to hold everybody accountable. Dashboards are helpful if you're going to do some metrics or weekly meetings. It is hard. There's a lot of technology out there, and we are very slow to adopt a lot of things. And if we bring something in, we usually take something out or try to remove two. So you don't want your stack to get too big, your technology stack. So keep it simple and stupid. But I hear you. DocuSign is a great product, and so is Salesforce if used properly.
Yeah, I see a hand up for Candace. I'm going to click allow to talk, and we'll just see what happens here. Maybe she doesn't want to talk, but.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks.
You sound nice, Candace. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I hope this was helpful for everybody. We'll
hold on, Jason. She had her hand up. Did you have a question, Candace?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm going to be.
We do have some other Q&A that's coming in though. Again, if anyone needs to hop off, feel free to.
Yeah. Claudia, I just added you in. You had your hand up.
Oh, sorry. I did have a question. So we're totally new to Teams, and most of our employees are technicians out in the field, and they don't have computers with them. They're mainly on their iPhones or tablets, if they even want to use it. Is Teams ideal for for that?
Yeah, the phone app is great. Yeah, you can see Jason's phone right now.
All day long.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
the feature parity is almost one-to-one. So almost everything that you can do on your desktop Teams, you can do almost all of it on your phone as well. All the video calling, all the chat stuff. The only things that I probably wouldn't recommend trying to do as much are like, I wouldn't try and plan out like shifts and stuff on the administrative side. I wouldn't try and like be creating teams and stuff from my phone. I wouldn't be trying to schedule a bunch of meetings from my phone as much, but it's very easy to do a video call or anything from there.
Yeah, it's great. It really is.
I see Rick Burke. I'm gonna allow you to talk now.
Hi there.
Hey.
Thanks for the webinar and everything. I just posted this thing in the Q&A as well about archiving channels. We've got this, we're at kind of a pivotal point now, rolling Teams out over the next few weeks and trying to determine if we should be migrating our Slack setup. The group is becoming more and more accustomed to Slack, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get them to move. When you talk about a champion, and so some of the functionality in Slack, it's not a direct mirror. You've done this before.
Yeah.
Is there? Do you have suggestions on how to do that? Is there like a mapping chart of, if you do this in Slack, this is how you do it in Teams, so that people don't feel that sense of loss?
Well, there are the real answer is you would want to make one, because it's going to be a little different for every situation. One of the biggest advantages of Slack, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming, people are probably using some add-ins and stuff in there. And there are more add-ins for Slack than there are for Teams, for sure. It has been more open to development in the past, and I would sort of like compare them. Like Slack, I might look at as more of an Android, and Teams, I might look more like the iPhone with the iPhone store, where all the apps are vetted and they tend to be a little bit more certified and cleaner. Maybe you can't do as much, but it's a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, we're not so much using the apps, but it's a very ad hoc structure, and the way you set up the groups as a kind of a regimented thing, and then channels underneath that. I'm a little bit worried that there's going to be some revolt.
You could drive around security first, because Teams is very secure compared to Slack, and that's one way of going about it.
What I would probably say in that situation is, you just got to build your template and say this is what it's going to be. You need to get a stakeholder on your side who has the authority to say that and say this is the direction that we're going. My usual experience has been that as long as someone is as long as someone confidently says this is what's happening, then people will usually get on board. But if you leave wiggle room and keep asking, are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? You will get people saying no.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. If you want to talk more about that, please feel free to email me or anything.
Another question that we had is if channels can be archived.
They can be, yes, they can. Not like, it's not called archiving, but you can delete a channel and it doesn't actually get deleted. So in a sense, yes. The other thing that you can do is you can just hide the channel. You can just hide the channel and at the admin level, turn off all notifications and everything for it.
Okay, and then there is one more question. What apps or services do you most often see being overused or stretched beyond their actual intended use cases?
Within Teams or in general?
I think within Teams.
Yeah. I would say it's not a specific app, but I would say the biggest thing that gets misused is the amount of teams, the amount of teams, the amount of channels, the amount of noise. That is probably the number one thing. Is the point of a communication and collaboration platform is to clearly get everyone on the same page about stuff and get more stuff done. You want to get more stuff done. And if you have too much noise going on, you're going to get less stuff done, which is not the point. And you need to take a step back and reevaluate at that point. So I would put it back to what I was saying about the permissions and stuff is, have that clear stakeholder, define clear goals about what you want to do and how you want to do it, get feedback from people, but you need to be clear, hey, we're going to listen to you, and we might put some of these ideas in if they're great ideas, but this is the roadmap at which we're going to do stuff. We're going to do this, and this is when we're going to do it. And then you have to actually do that.
Yep. I think the reply button is always an issue too versus a new message when it gets when it gets bigger. I'm guilty of that.
Yes. So what Jason's talking about for anyone who doesn't know is there's threads in Teams, and you can reply right to those threads, or you can click the bar that starts a new thread. And what happens a lot of the time is people will accidentally start a new thread. And that is a big pet peeve for like 40 to 50% of the population. And like we have some engineers who just get livid over it. And I'm like, yeah, it was a mistake, but you know.
And that's the drawback when you're on mobile all the time. You're just kind of going through it real quick, and you look like an idiot to the engineers a lot of times on the back end. But it happens.
Questions, Amanda?
Thank you for watching Dave Blake and the MS Teams Educational EDU 201. If you like what you see, please hit the like button below or talk to one of us at SWAT Systems, and any one of us will help you with your MS Teams integration. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.